of sports, that's part of life is, being able to deal with all of it. So, my personal journey, there's not a day that goes by where I'm not reminded of it, and I'm very thankful for it. And, hopefully it'll help me here.
You mentioned looking for ways to improve during that intermediate time before you took this job. What was kind of your process for looking back on things that maybe you didn't like about what you did or what you did like, and how you can improve when you come in here?
Yeah, you take a deep look at all of it. I think you have to unpack it the right way. You have to take the time to do that, which I thought I did. You can't do it by yourself. You got to talk to a lot of different people who can help you. I read a lot. I worked out a lot. I was with my kids, and I think through all that, I think going through it the right way, it led me to an opportunity here where I was ready for it, and that's what I was trying to do, was be ready for the next opportunity. And I'm very excited to be here.
What'd you read?
No, thank you.
Oh man, there were a lot of things that I read. I'm a big book guy, so I'm not a podcast guy. I have to read it, I have to highlight it. So I tried to read as much as I could. It's very, I think I've always looked at reading as improving. You're getting closer to being better and more of who you can be. So I did a bunch of that, still doing that, and but again, very thankful for this opportunity because I've really enjoyed working with this group of guys.
What kind of books do you read? Do you read fiction?
Yeah, mostly, a lot of, biography, sports, teaching, leadership, economics, all that type of good stuff. But I don't really read for fun. I read to improve.
Brandon, what did you think of this organization from afar? And now, how have your opinions of the organization changed now that you're a part of it and you're getting up close look?
The utmost respect from afar. I think I said earlier, I've seen since Kyle became the head coach here and John became the general manager here, when they came here together, how far they've really brought this team and organization since 2017 to now. And I think, every year that I've been in the NFL, I've, competed against this team. So I've seen the growth of this football team, of this organization, and I think that's where the respects come from, because I think, a lot of people see the Niners as, what they are, but it wasn't like that at the beginning, and there was a journey to get there. And I know how hard they've worked to get it to this point. And so I have a lot of respect that way from just afar. And then, when we've had to compete against them, you just know that this is a really complete football team, in all three phases, personnel, performance, and a first-class organization. I think meeting Jed and Dr. York, you see all of that.
I think Kyle might have mentioned him, or John, that you could have a role in game management, or at least, along with Kyle, or somebody to bounce stuff off. Have you talked about that with Kyle, or those sort of discussions during the game, or whether it's during the week, those sort of things?
Yeah, I think that'll all happen naturally. He's been doing this job for a long time at a high level. And again, I hope we'll be able to team up, in whatever role he sees fit.
Could you have some input on offense too, just because you've coached against it?
Well, I think perspective, I'll certainly have that, having have had to defend them, so many times over the years. And, I think, being with some offensive coaches that have always been studying him. And, I think even when, when we haven't played them, you just know the rest of the league's watching him, so you're very aware of, the trends that everybody is following and studying. So, you have that type of perspective, and it's vice versa. You can give that perspective for me as well. And, I think that's what was exciting for the both of us, was to team up in that way, for the Niners, and I'm excited about it.
I always thought that Kyle, as an offensive mind coach, has a lot of respect for defense. Sometimes you do get offensive guys who aren't thinking about defense very much. Have you, and Kyle kind of gets into the nitty gritty sometimes on defense.
Yeah, I think he gets that from his father. He's a complete coach. Kyle, if you hear Kyle talk about special teams, you'll be impressed. If you hear him talk about defense, you'll be impressed. O-line play, you'll be impressed. And that's the sign of a complete coach. And he's put the work in, and I think that's where our respect for each other really lies.
You mentioned being around coaches who challenge you on your side of the ball, like you were with Sean and Ed. Was that important for you in taking the next job, that you were around another coach who's kind of on the cutting edge offensively, to keep you up on those trends and things like that?
Yeah, and I don't think it needed to be, one specific side of the ball, but just like you said, someone that you felt like could improve your game, and where you could also go in and impact a program, and I think that we both saw that opportunity, and it really fit, and I think when I came here and talked to Kyle and John, we saw a path together that would be good for both sides. And, ultimately when we made that all happen, it was all about the Niners, and it's been, I'm really glad that I made the decision.
Brandon, what role?
Former college quarterback, what do you think of Purdy?
Oh man, I know his college coach well, Matt Campbell, who's one of the top coaches in college football, a great coach. I know that I knew about his intangibles coming out, being like a 4-year starter there, and just at Iowa
Try to
State.
get you to
No,
bring him aboard in the Chargers?
I mean Iowa State, to do what he did there, you got to realize, there's not a lot of pros, coming out of there, and so, but you talk to any coach that had to coach against them, and what this guy does on the field, and I think seeing it from afar, and what he's done for this club, he has that way about him that just lifts the team up. He's a gym rat, and he can affect the whole team, and it's not just by how he plays, it's how he prepares, and his work ethic, how coachable he is, and just have really admired his path. And I think, certainly his quarterbacking play speaks for itself over the last 2 years and how this team has played with him. And I'm excited to team up with him and hopefully, share the wisdom when applicable. And, but really excited to be able to see him work every day.
Brandon, have you played a role?
Between Sean and Kyle and how they approach being head coaches?
Yeah, I mean, their personalities are completely different. I think they believe in the things that you need to be good at, to be a successful football team, to be a successful, organization. Offensively, they come from a similar background, but how they play is very different. Both outstanding coaches, because they're both complete coaches, and, a lot of respect for both of them.
All right, guys, got to roll.
All right.